Hello, welcome to episode number 76 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. I am here with Aaron Bracy, and he's here to talk uh, about what's about to happen in the Big Five in Philadelphia, and he's going to talk about his book.
Alex, I can see you, but I can't hear you. Let me
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I got you now.
Okay. I don't know what
Can
happened.
you hear me all right?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
I had to check I was on my end. There was an issue
Okay.
on my end.
So welcome to episode number 76 of Hoop Talk Fanatics. I am here with Aaron Bracy, and I'm excited to have him on to talk, to preview a bunch of stuff for the Big Five in Philadelphia College Hoops, and can't wait to listen to what his thoughts are on everything about it. And he's going to, towards the end of the episode, he's going to talk about his newest book, on the 2003 St. Joe's team. So welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Alex, and sorry for the technical difficulties. Sometimes technology and I don't always cooperate with each other, but it was an issue on my end. Just had to hit a button, had the wrong setting tapped. So great to be with you tonight. Thanks for having me, and look forward to the conversation.
So my first question is, what are your overall thoughts on how St. Joe's will come into the season and be what position they are in?
Yeah, I think St. Joe's has all the talent in the world to make the NCAA tournament this season, Alex, on paper. I mean, they have the returning Atlantic 10 Rookie of the Year in Xavier Brown, preseason Player of the Year candidate and Eric Reynolds II, who's back for his senior season, Rasheer Fleming, who has impressed NBA scouts with his versatility and his ability to score inside and outside, defend, his elite wingspan. And they brought in some really talented transfers with Derek Simpson from Rutgers, who's going to really help them defensively, especially on the perimeter, and Justice Ajabo from Harvard, who's one of the nation's best shot blockers. And they also have some really good depth with Desir Haskins, who redshirted last season, but has drawn NBA interest. And Anthony Finkley and Sean Simmons got really good minutes for St. Joe's. On paper, St. Joe's has the pieces to be a contender in the Atlantic 10. It's just a matter of putting things together. They haven't made the NCAA tournament, Alex, since 2016. This is their best chance since then. They like I said, they have the talent. There's just some things they're going to need to do. One of my biggest concerns, I guess if you call it concerns or points of emphasis that they're going to need to do to make the tournament is defensively. I think they're going to be able to score with anybody, but are they going to be able to guard the perimeter? They had a scrimmage against Bucknell on Sunday. Bucknell shot more than 40% from the field, more than 41% from three-point range, and that's just not going to get it done. The Atlantic 10 is better this year. St. Louis, VCU, Dayton, those are Loyola Chicago. Those are four really good teams, potential NCAA tournament teams, and a couple behind St. Joe's that are going to be on their heels. So it's not going to be easy, but on paper, yeah, Alex, I think this has a potential to be a really, really good season for the Hawks.
Once March hits, how many of the Atlantic 10 teams do you think can make the field?
Well, it depends who you ask. Seth Greenberg, who's a national analyst, I think said 4 or 5 Atlantic 10 teams could make the NCAA tournament. If we're going on recent history, I think you're looking probably at 2 teams, possibly 3. The league is better this season. Their out-of-conference schedule is better. I think 4 would be a stretch. but I think you're going to have the conference tournament champion and then an at-large bid. And I think you're going to see two of those five teams that I mentioned, St. Louis, St. Joe's, VCU, Loyola Chicago, and missing one of them, they're going to be in the conversation for those two bids in the Atlantic 10. The top of the league is really good this season, and St. Joe's is certainly in the mix for one of those. But I'm going to go with two bids for the A10 this year, Alex.
Are you planning on attending during any games during the opening week?
Oh, yeah, no, most definitely. The college basketball season kicks off on Monday, November 4th. All 6 Big 5 teams are in action, so I can't split myself in 6 to attend all of them. I think 4 of them or maybe 5 are at home, but I'm planning to be at LaSalle on the opening Monday night. LaSalle's opening its new arena, John Glazer Arena. A lot of excitement on campus and in the program. So I want to be there for the opening of LaSalle's arena. On Wednesday, I'm planning to be at Villanova. And Friday, I'm planning to be at St. Joe's. And I really want to be at Villanova and St. Joe's for those 2 games, partly for those games, but also just to get a feel and flavor for the team. Because on Tuesday, November 12th, the Big 5 schedule opens with Villanova at St. Joe's. Obviously a huge game, Alex. So I will be there for that as well. So those are my first 4 planned games that I'll be attending. And I will be all over the place this season, but also have a wife and 3 kids. So I do want to try and pace myself.
I know Temple also opens up the season against Sacred Heart on Monday. What are your thoughts on how they can start the season? And do you think that they are deep enough?
Yeah, I had on big5hoops.com, as you know, I put out the Temple preview today as part of my Big 5 week-long series preview package. And, this is the second year for Adam Fisher at Temple. He's just done a really good job recruiting. He brought in some talented transfers led by Jamal Mashburn Jr. From New Mexico. Temple has improved talent-wise, and the American Athletic Association has taken notice. They were picked 6th in the league in the preseason. They went to the finals, surprisingly, last year, which was really unexpected. But there's also, some not so good signs with the program. Lynn Greer, the third, was suspended for the first 9 games of the season due to infractions. Before he got to Temple, he transferred from St. Joseph's. That's a bit of a blow. He was expected to be their starting point guard. So really not the way Temple wanted to start the season. I do think they're going to be in the mix for top half of the American Athletic Conference team this season. I don't see the Owls as an NCAA tournament team, partly because I don't think their non-conference schedule is strong enough this year, Alex. I don't think they're going to have enough quad 1 and quad 2 opportunities to get into the at-large conversation, even if they were to do really well in the non-conference. But I do think Adam Fisher is building a program that Owls fans can be proud of. And I think there's definitely positive signs and high hopes for the future for Temple.
I don't know if I told you this yet, but on November 15th, I'll be in Baltimore with my dad attending the Villanova, Virginia game.
That's awesome. Yeah, that'll be a great game. It's even a little bit more interesting now with the situation at Virginia with the new coach. But Villanova is playing a really interesting non-conference schedule, including that game against Virginia in Baltimore. They also have a game against Maryland in Newark. They have Cincinnati at home. That's going to be a really good non-conference game for them. And then, of course, the Big 5. They're going to have to win at St. Joe's. That's going to be really tough. Villanova went 0-3 in the Big 5 last year, so they're going to come in with something to prove this season. And they have a lot of talent on paper. They brought in, and if we're going to talk about Villanova, they brought in some really talented transfers. Wooga Poplar from Miami, Jameer Brickus from LaSalle, Chris Parker from Alabama, Enoch Balaki from Fresno State, Tyler Perkins from Penn. So they have 2 Big 5 to Big 5 transfers. They were picked 7th. It's really interesting with Villanova because they were picked 7th in the Big East preseason poll, but in KenPom, they're ranked 20th in the country. So There's really mixed feelings on Villanova this season. They haven't made the NCAA tournament in the last 2 seasons, which is something obviously that doesn't fit the standard of Villanova. So this is a really big season for Kyle Neptune and the Wildcats program as they're looking to get back to the NCAA tournament and back to where the program's used to being.
Do you think that they can have the chance to overcome victory over UConn this year?
Wow, that's a great question. One really interesting thing is they're playing UConn this season at the Pavilion. They're on campus home. Normally that game would be at the Wells Fargo Center, the home of the 76ers. But clearly they want that on-campus home court advantage, and they're giving up a lot of money in ticket sales. The Pavilion seats about 6,500. The Wells Fargo seats about 20,000. So you're looking at 14,000 people, less people in ticket sales and whatever cut they get of any of the concessions and parking. And I'm not even sure what that would be, if anything. But certainly I think they're sacrificing some dollars to get UConn at home, on campus. Certainly a game that they know is very important. If they could beat the 2-time defending national champion, either at home or on the road, which sounds to me like it would be tougher, that would be a big boost. Do I think they can beat them? Yes, I do. I think Villanova has the talent this season to beat anyone in the Big East. I think they're going to be a top half of the Big East team. I think they're going to be in the running for an NCAA tournament at-large bid, or even possibly a conference tournament title. I would be really surprised if Villanova doesn't finish in the top 4 or 5 of the Big East this season. I really think they have that much talent.
What are your thoughts on Eric Dixon and him coming back for another year despite entering the draft last year?
Yeah, it's wild. Eric Dixon is going to be 24 years old this season. I mean, there can't be many, if any, players in college basketball who are going to be older than Eric Dixon. Yeah, I mean, if Eric Dixon had his first choice, he would be in the NBA this season. He wants to be an NBA player, but there were some things in his game that NBA scouts wanted to see him work on. Specifically, they want to see him be more of an NBA player, less of a back-to-the-basket player, someone who can take his man off the dribble, someone who can extend his game beyond the three-point line, someone who can set up his teammates. And I think those are aspects of his game that he's been working on in the offseason. He's obviously had a tremendous Villanova career, and he's been there. This is his 6th year. He redshirted his first year, and in his 4 years, he's amassed, I think, over 1,400 points. And I have it written down here. I'm not going to give you the exact stats, but more than 1,400 points, something like more than, I think, 700 or 800 rebounds. I mean, he's had a tremendous career at Villanova, and he's going to show off some new aspects of his game. And it's really interesting in their scrimmage on Sunday against Robert Morris. He took 9 3-pointers. I don't think he took 9 3-pointers in any game last season. Clearly, he's showing different aspects of his game. He's first team All Big East, potential Big East player of the year for a reason. And I expect another big season from Eric Dixon on the main line.
Which team in the Big Five do you think that they can have the most impact?
Well, I think obviously this season you're going to look at Villanova and St. Joe's as the top tier of the Big Five. Those are the 2 teams that I think have the best chance of making the NCAA tournament. But I think there's also like some other teams not to sleep on. Interestingly, Penn was picked 7th of 8 teams in the Ivy poll, preseason poll, which is not where Penn is used to being. Typically a top of the Ivy team. They've had a bit of a drought from making the NCAA tournament. I'm going to be running my Penn preview on big5hoops.com on Thursday. So I'll have a lot more on Penn then. But what I will say is, for a team that's picked 7th in the Ivy, the players and the coaching staff are extremely optimistic about their chances, not only of competing in the league this season, but actually winning the league. So look out for Penn. They might be a sneaky team in the Ivy this season. They have 3 transfers who are going to be immediate impact players. Dylan Williams, who's going to be their day one starting point guard. Ethan Roberts, who Coach Steve Donahue believes is going to be one of the best players in the Ivy League. And Michael Zanoni, who is a dead-eye outside shooter. And those guys are going to free up Nick Spinoso. Nick Spinoso has been their leading assist player the last 2 seasons. He's a 6'9" front court player, but Nick's going to show off different aspects of his game this season as far as scoring. And I think from what I'm hearing, the optimism, I think the Quakers could surprise some people this season.
What player in the Big Five do you think will deserve the Player of the Year?
Yeah, there's some really good candidates. I'm going to go through a few players that I think could be there. As far as deserving, they're going to have to prove it on the court. Certainly, you have to start with Eric Dixon at Villanova. He's shown over and over that he could be one of the best players, not just in the Big Five, but in the Big East and in the country. So he would be at the top of the list, along with Eric Reynolds, II from St. Joe's. Again, a potential Atlantic 10 player preseason, potential Atlantic 10 player of the year. One of the best two guards, not only in the Atlantic 10, but arguably in the country. So those two players would be at the top of the list. But then also you stay right with St. Joe's, and you have to look at Xavier Brown and Rasheer Fleming as two legitimate candidates to be potential Big Five players of the year. At Villanova, you have to look at Wooga Poplar as a potential breakout Big Five player of the year. Certainly those players that I just mentioned are strong candidates for Big Five first team. And there's some sleepers. You have over at Temple, Jamal Mashburn Jr. He's can score with anybody in the country. He's another guy that you would have to look at and talk about as Big Five player of the year potentially. So those would be I think I listed 6 players. Those would be the 6 candidates that I would say potentially for Big Five player of the year.
I don't know if you follow the Big Five for women's, but I know Villanova comes to Princeton I think in a couple of weeks, and I actually work at the Princeton men's and women's games, and
That's awesome.
And I don't know if you'll be able to come, and I can get to see you in person.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I definitely would love to be at a Penn-Princeton game. There's nothing like the Penn-Princeton, well, not nothing like it, but the Penn-Princeton rivalry is a special rivalry. Certainly would love to meet you at Penn-Princeton. I have followed the women more closely this season. I'm going to have a content partnership with the great Mel Greenberg, formerly the Philadelphia Inquirer. His website is Wom Hoops Guru. Wom Hoops Guru, I think, is his handle on social media. So I've been getting more in tune with the women's Big Five. I certainly know Denise Dillon has done a great job at Villanova over the years. They've had some really tough luck with the Maddie Siegrist wasn't tough luck, but just her eligibility expired. And then another player who's slipping my mind right now. You probably know who she is, and I'm embarrassed that I forget her name, but she transferred to Iowa. I did talk to Denise Dillon on my podcast recently, and she's really high about the players they brought in. But the team in the Big Five this year that I think is going to be the team to beat, as the women are going to follow the men's format this season and play in the first ever Big Five Women's Classic, which is going to be December 6th at Villanova. And that team is St. Joseph's. The Hawks had a really great season last year. I don't remember their exact record, maybe 26-4, something around there. They had a really good season, but their strength of schedule wasn't strong enough to be in the at-large conversation. So Coach Cindy Griffin went out this season, and she upped their non-conference schedule. I believe they're playing Syracuse. I believe Northwestern, another Power 5 conference team that I don't know off the top of my head. But generally speaking, they are playing a stronger schedule. They have a lot of talent back. She's very high on some of the players they have coming in, including freshman point guard from Ewing, New Jersey. And so I think St. Joe's will be the team to beat in the Big Five this season. Really excited for the first ever women's Big Five Classic triple header at Villanova on December 6th. I will be there, and I'm really excited. We're going to be presenting, Alex, the Mel Greenberg Big Five Classic MVP Award to the player in the championship game that is the most valuable player, in honor of Mel Greenberg and all that he's done for not just the Big Five, but women's basketball in general. So really excited to be there for that. And I will be following the Big Five women's scene more closely this season than in the past. And I hope that continues to grow, because the women's game is certainly worth the publicity, worth watching, worth covering, and really excited to make that a little bit more part of Big5Hoops.com this season, and as we go forward, even more so.
While you were talking, I was checking the schedule for the Princeton men's team, and they actually have to travel to St. Joe's on December 3rd, which will be a intriguing game from my opinion. What are your thoughts about that one?
Yeah, no doubt. I was there last year at Hawk Hill when Princeton played St. Joe's, and Xavier Lee, what a great player. Is it Zach Martini, who played last year, transferred to Rutgers, I believe, another really strong player. That's going to be a great game. I mean, Princeton is a team that can play with just about anybody. And it's unfortunate that teams in the Ivy League are generally overlooked for one reason or another when it comes to at large. But you notice when they get into the NCAA tournament, they're tough. Those top of the Ivy teams are tough outs. And it's not going to be an easy game for St. Joe's. And, certainly looking forward to watching Princeton. Love their style of play. Always love watching those backdoor cuts. Going back to Coach Pete Carrill, who I used to love watching his teams play, and those big NCAA tournament upsets. What was it? Gabe Llewellyn way back in the day. So love watching Princeton, love the Princeton offense. In fact, it's fun when I see Richmond play, who's coached by Chris Mooney, a Princeton graduate, Princeton alum. I just love that style play. I love that backdoor cut. And it seems like no matter what, teams know it's coming and they can't stop it. So, I'm really looking forward. I will expect to be at that game, Alex. If you're there, I look forward to meeting you at Hawk Hill for that game. And that's going to be an intriguing matchup, no doubt.
How's the ticket prices looking?
Probably not good. I actually usually request a media credential, so I do not pay for tickets when I go to games that I'm covering. Although when I go to games as a fan, I do pay for tickets. And the cost of tickets and food and beverages, especially beverages for adults, are very high right now. And in college, I haven't looked at this specifically, but what I've heard is that a lot of ticket prices have gone up as schools are trying to kind of work in NIL funds into their ticket packages. So fans are paying a premium for tickets, particularly the high-end seats. And some of that money is going toward the name, image, likeness fund, as I understand it. And I would have to confirm that. But I will say one thing, interestingly, the Big Five Classic at the Wells Fargo Center, they actually lowered their prices this season. So if you're interested in going to the Big Five Classic on Saturday, December 7th at the Wells Fargo Center, you can get a ticket in your team section for $100, and that gets you in for all three games for the entire day. Last season, those tickets were $150, so they took $50 off the price, trying to get more fans in. Last season, they had an announced attendance of 15,000 at the Wells Fargo Center for its first ever Big Five Classic, which was a good start. And I think this season, certainly they'd like to sell the place out. The games delivered last season. I think the atmosphere was great, and really excited to be back there again personally on December 7th. But I'm fortunate and blessed that I don't have to pay for the tickets because I know they're not cheap.
Before we end the show, you can go ahead and talk about your new book, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. Yeah,
thanks for the opportunity, Alex. Really excited. March 1st, 2025. My book on the 2003-04 St. Joseph's Hawks comes out. You can buy it'll be available wherever books are sold. The title is A Soaring Season, the incredible, inspiring story of the 2003-04 St. Joseph's Hawks. And for me personally, the book is a dream come true. I've always wanted to write a book, Alex. I've been, ever since I was in high school, I would read the morning Philadelphia Inquirer with Bill Lyon, loved Bill Lyon's columns, read it with my morning cereal, and always wanted to be a sports writer and always dreamed of writing a book. So I always would pick up as many books as I could. I read the top 100 books or tried to of Sports Illustrated, had a list. I love reading history and biographies, fiction, whatever it may be. And I always wanted to write one. But seemingly every idea I had was taken, it seemed like. And last November, I was like, well, maybe I'll write a feature story on the 2003-04 St. Joseph's Hawks since it was the 20th anniversary of the team, thinking I would write it for big5hoops.com. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Maybe that could be the book that I've always wanted to write. So I started the process of researching an interview. I interviewed 90 people. I did more than 100 interviews with 90 people. And it was just an exhilarating process, an exhausting process, but exhilarating as well. And I really think people are going to love the book, particularly obviously St. Joe's fans, alumni, supporters of the program. But also, I don't think you need to be even a sports fan or a college basketball fan to appreciate that team, It was just an unheralded team, under-recruited. None of the players were recruited by any Power 5 conferences. Jameer Nelson did get a little bit, some sniffs late in the recruiting process, but nothing early in the recruiting process. They played in a facility that wasn't even as modern as many high school gyms. There were so many odds stacked against them, and yet they managed to go 27-0 in the regular season. They were the unanimous #1 team in the country, and went on to a great run in the NCAA tournament, which I detail in the book. And really excited to tell the story. Have people who know the story to read about it again, and people who don't know the story to learn about it, because I believe it can really inspire people and help them see that, like, you don't have to be the biggest to beat the biggest, and you don't have to have the best to be the best. And so really excited to get that in people's hands. You can actually pre-order the book now at big5hoops.com/asoaringseason. And again, March 1st, 2025, you can purchase it wherever books are sold. So super excited for that. And Alex, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the book a little bit.
I'm really interested to hear what your thoughts were on my question. What was the process like for to make the book and to do interviews?
Yeah, well, that's a really great question. So we'll start with the interviews. So basically what I would do for the interviews, I started out by making a list of everyone that I wanted to talk to. And the list began with every player and coach on that team. I did talk to every player and coach on the team except for Delonte West, who I tried to get. I thought I was going to have an interview with him, but it didn't work out. But I did talk to his high school coach and lots of people around him to really get insight into him. So I started with a list of people that I would like to talk to. And then as I continued doing my research, more names would pop up of people that I wanted to talk to. And so I would just reach out either through people that I knew to help get in contact. Sometimes I would reach out randomly online with people. For instance, there was a player from Old Dominion. St. Joe's played that season, the third game of the season against Old Dominion. And a player named Alex Lawton from Australia had a big game. So I wanted to get his thoughts on it. And he has a foundation called Lawton 40 Hoops. And so I connected through to Alex through his foundation. And we did an interview over WhatsApp, him from Australia, me from right here in Philly. And the time difference was wild because I did the interview at 4:00 in the morning local time, which was crazy. But so I scheduled my interviews, whenever I could. And, so many people were so gracious to give me insight into the team, into the season, so many different angles that I covered. So once I had all the interviews done, as I was doing a ton of research in the meantime. So once I had all my interviews and research done, I kind of collected all my information and all my interviews, and I started kind of putting them into different boxes. It was almost for me like a jigsaw puzzle. If you do a jigsaw puzzle, you kind of put all the red hot air balloons on one side, the rainbow over here, whatever it may be over here. And so then that became the chapters. And then so I took all that information and I started working on each chapter. And so my writing process, if I could quickly tell you about the way it worked, is I would use all my information from my research and from my interviews. I would write a chapter, and then I would revise it. I would take the chapter on a walk. I would record it. I would take it on a walk and listen to it. And I would take it home. And once I felt pretty good about it, I would pass it off to my wife. My wife was my quasi-editor of the book. And I really wanted her perspective, Alex, because she's not a really big sports fan. She kind of likes sports, but not huge. But I wanted this book to be more than just sports fans. So I really wanted my wife's perspective on what I was writing, because I didn't want to get too nitty gritty into people like you and me who are like sports and basketball nuts, right? Like we'll know all the details, but I wanted my book to appeal to people who weren't just like us. I wanted it to be for every person. And so she would read it and give me suggestions. And usually I would kind of push back right away because that's my nature. I told her hey, I'm the writer and the editor in the family, but usually I would sleep on it and I'd be like, well, you know what? That was a really good suggestion she made. And so then I would make revisions, and I just kept doing that over and over and over. And 101,000 words later, we got to the finish line. It was, there were some tears shed. I don't think there was any blood, but there was certainly sweat and tears. And so about early August, I submitted the draft of the manuscript to the publisher. It has since come back to me for several rounds of reviews. I have one more final review. I'm awaiting the final proof, which should be coming to me within probably this week or next. And then it's going to go to the printer, and then I'll have a book sometime soon. So really exciting, really, really exciting. And can't wait for everyone to have a chance to read about the team and just experience that season and what it was like to be in it, because I hope that I was able to capture some of that, the feeling of what it was like to be part of that team, part of that season, and what made that team great, and why so many people were so taken by that team, not just locally, not just St. Joe's people, but in Philadelphia and frankly all over the country. So really, really excited.
Is there a specific date of the release?
The scheduled release date is March 1st, 2025. That's when it'll be available wherever books are sold, your Barnes and Nobles, your Amazons, everywhere else. There's obviously chances that could be delayed depending on shipping, printing, etc. But I've been trying to beat my deadlines to make sure we have it by March 1st, because we scheduled it on March 1st, obviously, because of March Madness. It's the most interest that college basketball has during the calendar year. So we wanted to tie it in to March Madness. And also it will be the 21st anniversary of St. Joe's making the run in the NCAA tournament. There's a chance that it could come out earlier. Certainly I'm hopeful that it comes out no later than March 1st, but possibly earlier. If you do pre-order it through my website, big5hoops.com/asoaringseason, you will get it as soon as it comes out. But the scheduled date is March 1st.
I'm definitely looking forward to getting a copy of it, and I love what you're doing with Big Five Hoops, and this season is going to be special with your coverage, and I'm hoping that I get the chance to meet you in person one day.
Yeah, no doubt, Alex, and keep up the great work. This is awesome that you have this platform, and I really enjoyed the time and talking to you, and keep up the great work that you do with the podcast, and I definitely look forward to meeting you at Princeton. And Penn Princeton, I don't know when the date is. It's usually the last date of the season. I don't think it is this year, though. I was kind of looking through their schedule. But I don't think Penn Princeton is the last date. But I will certainly look up that date. I have the schedule right here, but I'm going to look up that date, and so we can meet up in person. But love everything that you're doing with the podcast, and really appreciate the time. Let's see, they're home against Princeton on January 7th. Penn is. And they're they are at the last game of the season. It is March 8th. Oh, maybe it'll mean something. So maybe I'll see you. Maybe I'll see you there. Maybe they'll be playing for Ivy regular season title. So
I'll be working the student gate at that game.
Awesome.
Yeah. And I usually have to miss the first half of games, and then I'll be able to watch the second half.
Nice. So that's your ticket in, I guess. You get your work and then you get to watch. Smart man.
Are you going to be at the scores table?
Yeah, if I'm there, I will be wherever press row is. I've been to Jadwin Gym a few times. In fact, I used to work at the Trenton Times. There's actually a story right behind me that I wrote on guys from Rider when I was at the Trenton Times, and I covered several Princeton games when I was at the paper. Jadwin is an interesting place. It can be a really cool atmosphere for Penn Princeton, and I would love to be there on that final. What is it? A Saturday, March 8th? Yeah, Saturday, final Saturday, and see if that game means something. That would be awesome, and would love to meet you there as well. Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely once the time comes, I'll definitely get in touch with you. No doubt. Thanks again for coming on, and I'm really excited to see your tweets all season long, and it's going to be a fun season. Absolutely, Alex. Really appreciate your time, and thanks for having me on, and thanks for all that you do for basketball. And it was a fun conversation. And again, I just want to thank everyone who's read my content and is interested in the book. I really appreciate it. Thanks again.